Hello and welcome back to LBG Reviews. As promised, today we are talking about Cat Quest 2. In Cat Quest 1, the Dog Kingdom is touched on very lightly initially, but in Cat Quest 2, the Dog Kingdom is as important to the story as is the Cat Kingdom. So, to kind of back up to explain, in Cat Quest 2, the story talks about this legendary blade called the King's Blade. A blade that was so feared by the two kingdoms that the original cat and dog kingdoms' kings came together to destroy the King's Blade. So they talk about the King's Blade and how the two kings originally feared it so greatly, but that tyrants had taken over their kingdoms in the years gone past, and that wars are still being waged over this blade despite the fact that it has gone missing and was actually destroyed. Legend foretold of how the original two kings would one day come back to their kingdoms to reclaim their thrones and rebuild the King's Blade to do it. However, as you play through the game, and again, if I recall correctly, go ahead and put in some text or a automated voiceover if I'm mistaken. But if I recall correctly, this game doesn't really have any accessibility features, not that it really needs any. I mean, this one is a little different than the first game because this game is couch co-op available, because the cat and the dog are available to play as at the same time. And also in single player, you're able to swap between the cat and the dog, and then you're able to build them out differently. So, like as an example from my own playthrough, the cat was built as a tanky warrior, whereas the dog was built as a from a distance mage. And so, again, if I'm mistaken, please correct me now. Anyways, as you play through the game, again, you learn about how all of this was actually a ploy by someone else, and how this time it was a ploy by Alias and alternate versions of yourselves that wanted you to gather the shards of the King's Blade for themselves. But then, all of a sudden, you obtain the King's Blade in your fight with Alias at the end, and that the King's Blade was, as cheesy as it's gonna sound, the King's Blade was within you all along. And then Alias at the end says, so the King's Blade has been reforged, with just one more relic remaining before the apocalypse. Oh, and one thing I forgot to touch on with Cat Quest 1, the games are full of cat puns. Like, if someone doesn't say, oh, that's awesome, they say, well, oh, that's possum. Or they don't say, oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. Or, oh, that's rough. No, that's rough, as in, ruff, ruff. And I just love all those cat puns. But in both cases, in both games, you're helped out by a spirit cat. In Cat Quest 1, you're helped out by a cat named Speary. And in Cat Quest 2, you're helped out by a cat ghost named Kiri. And in both cases, that is actually a false assistant. Speary ends up betraying you to help out Dracoth, the white cat from the previous video, whereas Kiri betrays you to help out Alias, but then, in both cases, the ghost cat that helped you realizes, hey, wait a minute, my previous masters are taking it too far. I'm done. In Cat Quest 1, that initially just means that Speary stays by your side as you fight Dracoth, but in Cat Quest 2, that means that Kiri helps you reformulate a plan to reobtain the King's Shards and fight your way through to defeat the tyrant kings. The story is so in-depth and so goofy that I'm not even doing it justice just talking about it like this. That's okay. Like I said, I plan to talk about Cat Quest 3 when it comes out in a few weeks, actually like a week or so from the release of this video. Actually, no. By the release of this video, Cat Quest 3 should be out, and then after next week's video, I will probably make a video about Cat Quest 3. But anyways, next week we're talking about The Outer Wilds, a cool, relaxing space sci-fi game where you play as an astronaut stuck in a solar system on a 20-minute time loop. I've got some cool ideas for that video, and I hope you're looking forward to them, because it should be a challenging one for me to make, but a fun one for you guys to watch.